Alrighty. Hello, everybody. This is, just a simple wave and we're off to the races. Hello, everybody. This is episode 44 of Shoot the Breeze, a chill interview and a chill time all around for you and me. I'm your host, HeavyDivider. Alongside me is a very gentle-hearted individual. As a matter of fact, they were very kind-hearted, as well as just basically somebody you can always, be able to have a good conversation with, as well as just be able to get to know one another with. My guest for tonight is TaeTheFloof, but we will call him Tao for short. Welcome on in.
I'm so sorry.
What? Y'all good?
It's TaeTheFloof.
Oh, Tae, my bad. I always call it Tao. My apologies. TaeTheFloof, my bad. I will say for the most part, I do have. I will say this, and this is not the first time I say this, but I'll let you know I have a bad pronunciation when it comes to names. Sometimes I need to be corrected on certain points because I mispronounce. But yeah, TaeTheFloof, my bad. I don't know where I get Tao from, but I think it's because
fine,
but I think I misread it for the most part. But yeah, TaeTheFloof here. So welcome on in.
I can't actually tell you how many times that actually gets said wrong.
Yeah.
So it caught me off guard again.
No, you're good.
Oh.
Hey, at least you got a good laugh out of it. So there you go. With my own foolishness. Yeah. But yeah. How you been? How you been for the most part? And how's your day going?
I'm hanging in there. Just a normal day at work as usual. Finally got to come home, relax, and get to do this.
Yeah, there you go. Get to do this on hand, and also being your first thing on hand, so it'll just basically be a fun time for the most part. Fun time for the most part to do. But let me ask you the first question on hand. How the hell did we meet?
I believe we met through Soccer Plus, actually.
Soccer Plus on
I believe I just ran into you the last meeting, actually. When you had talked about actually doing interviews for everybody. Mm-hmm. Before that, I was still trying to get through everybody on the list of, everybody that's in there. It takes time to do it, as you know.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people you have to connect with no matter what. And the thing is, over time or so, everybody will be able to understand everybody else for the most part. It's just a matter of, get to know them, how somebody is, Everybody's got a different energy flow, I've always said. Everybody's got a different energy flow. It's just a matter of, understanding how everybody is, and then you begin to, match up with that or so. But hey, over time or so, I'm hoping that basically we can all become best of friends with everybody else around us, because we all have our own goals and everything, but we hope to work together just for everybody else to achieve them. So that's the key thing.
Right.
So I will ask you this on hand. Being, what is your VRChat origins for the most part? What got you into this game, or how did you discover this game for yourself or so?
In reality, finding this game was, I had a friend of mine that actually wanted me to join, so I joined in. I spent a couple hours with him just to get up to a trusted user, because at the same time that the whole VRChat thing was going off, I was actually I had one model I had bought for somebody, had it customized and everything. And then I had moved on to the current model, which I actually had done, and basically just be able to play with them. And then unfortunately, they kind of disappeared, really. So I never really got to do anything with the model or any of the games or anything that you can do here or hang out with people.
I got you. So at that time or so, you never got a chance to be able to experience certain worlds here or there, or just be able to try certain new ones out there. Because I can assure you on hand, especially with the whole Udon map system and everything, there's actually a lot of interesting things you can easily check out or so, if you're ever interested for the most part. Depending on when you have free time. Yeah, but when you have free time or so on hand. If you need to, I can always show you a couple maps after this and everything, just so you can be familiar with what's going on here, because trust me, some of this stuff is really gorgeous looking. But, I will also, in that exact same question, did you know any model working for the most part, or was most of the stuff that you have kind of given to you by a friend here and there or so?
The first model, as I said, was actually purchased and changed in a commission. They were selling it. This one was a model put together. I actually had completely commissioned, chose the outfit and all the parts, and they put it together. It's not a what would you call it, a fully custom one? They what do you call it, clay make it where they actually
Frankenstein it.
Yeah, it's a Frankenstein basically.
Yep.
I've never actually had a full model custom made. But in reality, I have a basically, I call it version 3 of Tay. That's currently in the works, but it's not a VRChat model. It's actually being made as a, what is that other one called? It's where you can use it with VC face and everything.
Oh, it's a. Oh, I know. It's not like a. It's not a. I know what you're talking about. It's a. Oh, come on. What is it? What is it? I know what it is, but for some reason it escaped my thought on it. It's not like a. It's not like a V droid or anything. It's kind of like a. I know what you mean. And for some reason it's not escaped. It's escaped my mind on hand for the most part. Unless somebody can be able to answer that for the most part on what it is, but. Either way or so, I'm pretty sure you're able to get that implemented, especially like in VC face and everything, like file wise and everything.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping once the new model's done, I can then bring it over, because the trouble I seem to have run into was taking a VRChat model and moving it over in that direction, but it's easier to take from that direction and move it over here, from what I've understood.
I think the reason behind that is, last time I checked, because I used to have issues where basically I was able to get, I was trying to get this model into VC face, or at one point try to get this model to work for like not VRC, but basically for VTube and everything. And from what I've learned on it, basically it's based on the different file type for it. And sometimes in order to convert that file type, it has to go through Unity for a certain special plugin for it. And it's weird to
We all know how technology is.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's kind of hard to get it. Once you kind of figure it out on hand, it's like smooth sailing. But it's also one of those things where like the first step is always the hardest step to try to get it set up for it. So that's the thing.
Oh yeah.
But let me ask about your hobbies on hand besides like this game in general. I know you play Satisfactory. I also know you play pretty much 7 Days to Die. But I was kind of curious, do you have any other hobbies on hand besides video gaming in general?
Video game wise, I'm actually into 3D printing. I do enjoy to tinker around with that. I enjoy to cook. I do a little bit of editing, not very much though, because I've got I got hours of my own footage to go through, and I'm just like, I don't want to.
yeah, I get you.
And then I am partially involved with what's the word that TOS won't freak out about? Firearms.
Oh, that's fine.
I like to go to the gun range and everything.
Oh, I got you. There's nothing wrong with that. I got some friends who do that too. Where basically they just enjoy basically testing out certain stuff like that on hand. So yeah, it's all good. It's all good for the most part.
And then most of my other time is actually just working, really. I actually have very little time nowadays to just sit down and enjoy other hobbies.
I got you. I mean, I will say, like, especially with editing on hand, you just gotta, like, find a good free day just to be able to sit down and do it. Or other times, like, it's weird because scheduling has always been a pain in the ass to do, let's be fair, where basically you have an idea of what you want to do here and there, you just gotta try to balance it out, and because of that, there may be certain things that you skipped over. There may be certain times where you just feel tired as can be, just trying to get everything all settled and, configurated for it.
Oh, yeah.
But overall, or sake or so, as long as you're having a good time with, like, stuff outside of video gaming and not be, like, completely burned out, just, like, doing nothing but video gaming in general, or just, like, be able to relax it in certain ways, hey, you're good. You're all good to go for that. So, but,
oh, yeah.
I will say, I know you haven't been in VRChat for quite a while on hand. I know you haven't touched it here and there, but I will say, in this current present, right now, of where we are, like VRChat, like this day or so, even if it's like a brief moment, just like looking around here and there or so, what do you think about VRChat in general at this moment?
I think it's fairly smoothed out compared to, all the horror stories I used to hear of, like, back in the original days. It's nice to see how far things have come and what people can do, and it's really nice to see how much it's accomplished.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Because 5 years or so ago, I was like, oh, VR, whatever, you know.
Mhm.
It's not going to go very far. And look at where we're at today. We've got other games in here, and you know, we can sit down and have conversations and be able to have full body tracking and everything. And it's just amazing to see, you know, how everything's changed.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I can assure you, for the most part, that it's gonna keep growing, and like VR in general is gonna keep growing. It's just gonna be more expensive as time goes by, or so. That's the key.
Oh, yeah.
That's the key aspect. It's gonna be expensive as time goes by, but also it's gonna be interesting to see how far it will go. For the most part, like I feel like the only destination it's going to lead to is basically like dot hack sign, or just kind of like Sword Art Online, where basically we put a headset on and immediately it's just kind of like, well, this feels real. Everything here feels real for the most part. So here and there.
And you're shot in the knee with an arrow, and you're like, "Why did I do this?"
Yeah, why did I do this? I just wanted to know if this was real or not. Well, proved myself wrong, but I will say, for overall sake or so, it'll keep growing for the most part. But let me ask you on hand about the Vtuber Scene. Vtuber Scene for the most part. I will say, let me put it this way: what is your introduction into it, or so, or you know, what is your current thought process of the whole thing in general too?
Being introduced into VTubing actually was from two people in particular, which was Shizui and freaking Fuzz. Both of those, I found Shizui first, and which led me to Fuzz. I enjoy both of them greatly. And then actually I came across Manus 08. And after seeing those three and after giving it a mull over, I thought about it for like 6 months. Tae was in the making for, I want to say like 6 months before I started VTubing, because we come up with the original design, the color scheme, the name. The original name was actually Tae-chan, but I shortened it to Tae because I thought it was kind of weird to be called Chan. But that's just me.
No, that's fine.
And if you believe it or not, it was actually a toss of a coin between a nine-tailed fox and a dragon.
I mean, those things are both going, like, they're like popular trends nowadays, like in VTubing scene or so. Like either or between one. So.
And then, like, seeing all the VTubers there is now, I would have never thought of that. You know, 2 years ago when I got started, I was like, yeah, this is pretty small. I can get into this. And then come to find out, it's like this huge range. And I was like, oh, I've opened up not a can of worms, an entire 55-gallon barrel.
Yeah, there you go. Trust me, it's like a whole nother world when you explore into it. I will say, the floof part on Tae, for the most part, I assume that has no correlation to basically, at one point, Shizui had a stream team called the Floof Squad. No correlation to it, I had? Or is it just something...
No.
Okay, making sure.
No, actually, the floof part of it came later, after I got to know, it was Discordia VR. I got to know them, and met a group of friends from them, and the floof just kind of stuck whenever we would play something that would be multiplayer, and then, there would be some kind of joke about the floof, and I was like, well, you know what, I'm gonna roll with it.
I got you. I mean, if it works, it works. I mean, especially for how it goes. Plus, not only that, it gave you like some very good art commissions on hand for whatever you want to go with. Just kind of like painting your character outwards for whatever they can work with here and there. So there's that. There's that for the most part.
Speaking of,
Yes.
Sorry.
No. Go ahead. You're good.
I was just gonna say, speaking of art commissions, I actually hadn't had a lot of art done until like the end of 2020, and I discovered Sketch Mob, and I kind of went ham about it, and I was like, oh, here's an artist for 25, here's another one, and before long I had like 28 pieces, and I'm like, I've messed up.
Well, at least I got a lot of art to look at here, so I got a portfolio of stuff. That way, if anybody's asking, you know, how do I draw this character? Let me show you my reference here. Just opens up portfolio, a bunch of art pops out of it. So, but I will say too, take your pick on hand. Plus, not only that, with all names or so, like whatever artist is made or so, you can always reference them to like your friends or so. If they're asking, you know, what would be good people to go to, it's like, hey, let me show you here in this. So there's that. Yeah. There's that on hand for the most part. Now, like I said, I know you haven't been on VRC for a while or so. I was gonna ask for old VRC memories, but instead I'll twist this around a little bit. Let's talk about video game memories. See if we could do that, because that way it could be a little bit of anything on hand. Be like, you know, for example, if you basically could picture in your own head, what would be the first memory that pops in your mind that you would just think that you would have, like, great enjoyment out of it? It could be, like, a funny moment. It could be, like, a moment that just sticks in your mind for times on end. Like, when you think of, like, something good.
The most recent that pops into mind first is actually playing squad with somebody. And playing in squad, I'm usually always the medic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in one of the incidences, the friend got shot or was downed, which you can get out, patch him up, and bring him back up. I get out of the vehicle, I patch him up, and we're laying there for a second, and you hear thunk. I'm looking around going, that's awfully weird. And then I see the grenade drop in front of us as my friend turns around and went, wait, is that a... And then we just exploded.
Someone timed it just right, I guess.
Pretty much.
I'm pretty sure Squad is kind of like that, isn't it that SWAT game? Or am I just thinking of something else differently?
That's, I think what you're trying to reference is Rainbow Six Siege, where there's 5 or 6 people on a team. I think it's 5. Squad is more of a full, I think it's 50 versus 50. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
50 versus 50 map. Basically, this side is one, Americans, Russians, British, etc., and then the other side's the other side, and you fight for different things, whether it's taking the map or taking points on the map, charging positions, you know.
I got you. I mean, because the way that sounds, it almost makes you think of there's a game out there called what's it, Vietnam Rising Storm or something like that, or kind of like that.
Yeah.
Almost in that sense or so. Almost in that sense, but I will say, and again, I know you haven't really been on VRC, but I will ask, with the current present of VRC, like, put it this way, from your first day in VRChat, all the way to where we are now and being the current present, what are some of the things you're glad that they changed up to some of the things you wish they didn't change at all?
I really don't have much to answer there. I do have one problem.
Sure.
I've set my home world somewhere and I don't know how to go back to the default.
Oh, that one.
Beyond, I mean, I don't really have anything to talk about there for what they've changed and everything. I'm glad they have fixed the performance issue that I personally was running into. Of just so much going on. I never filled up 32 gigs of RAM before, so that was a new one for me, and that was without streaming, because my computer had lost its mind.
Oh yeah.
And I'm open up Task Manager, it's like, oh, the RAM's full. I'm like, what do you mean the RAM's full? You know, it's not something in all the years of technology I've done I've ever run into of, you know, my RAM being full.
I will say at certain points on hand, like in this game, you will have to kind of like go into your local low and basically delete the file to VRC, because it contains a bunch of gigs of RAM there in order to basically, just so you can clear out your cache and be able to, you know, do stuff for the most part here and there. But I assure you, it's a minor thing on, I wouldn't say it's a minor thing, but still, it's one of those things on hand that you might need to know, because that way you don't fill out your entire RAM, because that way, because it's, what it's doing is, it's basically saving all the worlds you loaded in, and putting it into that file, because that way when you go back to that world, it automatically loads up to 100%, not to load it back in.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, but either way, it's a thing.
Yeah, something I'll have to look into, though.
Yeah. Originally, I will say, in the options menu, there used to be a way where you could be able to delete memory, like delete your cache for this and everything. That used to work. I don't know if it still works now, because the button to it, I think the button to it is broken, or the system to it is broken. I'm not sure. I'll have to have a look at it when I get a chance. But yeah, that's one way to do it. I will say, we talked about this a little bit on, like, with VR in general, but I will say, is there anything, not VRC, but basically if in the VR world, or say VTuber world, is there anything you're looking forward towards?
Um, I'm well, I guess you could consider that. I'm looking forward to as of right now in the VTuber world, on my end, anyways. The only way I can control the the head tracking in the model, like most people use a Vive Puck on their headset or or something of that nature. I use Suva, which allows me to use the Tobii eye tracker, so I can move the head around and blink and everything. And something that's been brought to my attention in like the last month was there's a full face tracking if your model set up for it, where you can actually move your face as if you're actually, you know, the same way your actual face moves, your model will mimic it.
I've heard of that, and I know for a fact that originally you can easily do that with an iPhone 10, I believe. I think it's like an iPhone 10, because I know
That's
people.
what I was told.
Yeah, because I know there's certain people who are actually using that just to be able to move the face like mouth-wise and just be able to make it look very realistic for the most part. But all I know too is it's a pain to set up too, because one, you got to buy a phone, you got to buy the phone to it, and two, you got to find a way to be able to get it set up where, like, you got to set up webcam-wise or so just to get it kind of work that way. I believe. Not sure, depending on how everybody else has got it set up. So, but
because right now all the emotions for the actual model I have are on button commands. So it was just a nice thought to think that we're headed in that direction, that maybe one day, you know, I won't have to have two programs or something in order to be able to do full facial recognition. One thing I wish I could find, and maybe it's in the works and I don't know about it, is using it in placement for, like, on Discord. You know how you have the spot for the webcam? Being able to put, you know, your model there instead of using a webcam.
okay, no, yeah, I hope. I mean, like I said, it's just a matter of, like, we'll see there. We'll have to see. It could be maybe 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, but it'll happen. It'll happen when we least expect it for the most part. So, let me ask you, now this is a curveball on hand because there's some people who do enjoy it, some people don't have time to be able to watch it, but let me ask you this. Let's talk anime. Let's talk anime on hand here. Now, I will say, depending on how it is for the most part, are you an anime do you watch anime for the most part? A little bit here and there, or is it just kind of like whenever
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part? Okay. So
whenever I can get the chance.
Okay, so let me I have a three-part question to this, but I will ask this. When I say anime, what's the first series that comes to your mind?
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. That's a classic. Good old classic on hand. So but yeah, good classic on hand for the most part. Second question to it will be, if you ever had like a top 3, top 5, what would be the anime series that kind of fits in that kind of section on hand for what you work with?
Top 3. I never actually sat down and thought about it, because most of the time, I usually don't even get to finish most of them. Besides, you know, trying to keep up with some of the older ones that have, you know, 500 plus episodes, and you're just like, when am I ever gonna have time to sit down and watch this? I'd have to say top 1 would be Cowboy Bebop. 2 would be Outlaw Star, and 3 would probably be Dragon Ball.
Yep, there you go. That's fine. I mean, because keep in mind, it's like the introduction to like any form of anime on hand. Like when you're growing up, like no matter which one it is or so, it's going to be the introduction. You know, like Dragon Ball is usually the biggest starter for it at certain points. Like, cause I assure you, it's usually the biggest one that I could think of, because there's a lot of people who are a fan of it, and then it gets them to it. But the last question to that is, what is the anime that hit you close to home? Like when you watch and everything, you're like, you look at it and you're like, I feel that way too hard. Like it relates to your life in general, or like you relate to it emotionally.
I would have to say, I'd have to go with still my original Cowboy Bebop, to be honest. Just because I've watched, I mean, I can't really say I've watched a lot, because, you know, I could sit down and probably count them, not even fill up a sheet of paper with all of them I've watched. I have seen a lot of, teasers for a lot of them, but that's usually one of the ones I can go back and rewatch again and actually feel at home with it.
No, I got you. I got you fully on hand. And I will say, like I said, when you got something that's a classic and favorite, there may be a point where you watch the whole series and then there might not be something you didn't catch, and then you watch it again and then immediately you catch it on hand. Like certain references, certain hidden, like subtleties for the most part. Yeah, subtleties for the most part that you'd least expect here and there. So, this leads me to my last question. And as you can see here, I have this camera set up right here, and I'm gonna basically have you be in center stage right here. Just basically move up a little bit here. Yep, you all good?
Hang on.
There you go. There you go. And my question for you is this. What are your goals and dreams? And at best, what is the best advice you could ever give to anyone? I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna have you have center stage for this.
Goals and dreams really kind of correlates to VTubing in general. The dream for me is, most people are out for fame, money, etc. I just want to be able to make a place where people are comfortable and can enjoy themselves. That's what I want. There's some people that's got hidden motives of wanting to make money and everything, but in my all reality, I can never make a dime from it. But as long as somebody at the end of the day got to enjoy, got to relax and let their worries go and enjoy themselves, that's all that mattered to me. What was the other part? I'm sorry.
The other part is, and at best, what is the best advice you can offer to anybody?
Do not give up when you're kicked down. It's going to be difficult. It's a long trip. But trust me, you just need to get back up. I know it's going to be difficult. You're going to want to give up, but you can't. That's about all I got.
All right, I got you. Hey, sound advice on hand, because trust me, I will say this to add to it. Basically, life is like an obstacle course, basically. Sometimes it could be a smooth track, like nothing in your way, or so, basically running down middle lane. Other times there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be in your way that you have to climb over, crawl under, anything in general, just to basically test your fortitude to see if you want it.
It's like a bad game of Wipeout.
Pretty much that. Just has like a weird military aspect to it, if you want to put it that way. So, I will say, to those who are watching, does anybody have any questions for Tae here? Any questions all you would like to ask them on hand here? I will say, while everybody's coming up with questions, I will ask, since you mentioned VTubing and everything, I will say, any favorite VTubers that you get a chance to watch?
Actually still the top three that started it all. Shizui, Freaking Fuzz, and Manus are usually the top three that I usually try to turn into. Now I do have more, like Dragoness and the I can't remember any of the names. I'm still trying to learn everybody in Soccer Plus. I try to catch as many as I can. My follower list just grows by the day of people I need to watch. Like if I was to set my phone down and it actually go off of everybody, going live that's a VTuber, I mean, it'd be an all-day buzz.
I get you. I get you on hand, because here's the thing. In this wide world of basically, no matter what it is, VRChat, VTubing, anything in general, you're gonna have like a lot of people you can look at here and there, but the thing is, it's a matter of basically what fits you for the most part. Like, who do you enjoy overall sake or so? Like, what, and basically who you enjoy and who you can relate to on hand. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of times on hand where basically you can actually take that aspiration of who you relate to or so and maybe turn it into something for yourself, for what you want to be able to inspire to do, but also making sure you don't change yourself completely, Be yourself for the most part, but also like be able to try to improve yourself little by little here and there. So, but yeah, anybody got any questions you would like to ask Tae on hand for the most part? I'm watching here to see if any questions I can pass along to you. Overall sake or so.
No worries.
Okay. I do have one thing on hand. Have you actually played any other VR games besides VRChat in general or so? Like any ones out there, like it.
Yeah, actually I played Beat Saber, of course VRChat, the little bit I have played, and then there was I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was a two-player co-op, and I know it was another shooter, but for the life of me, I can't remember what the name of it was because me and another streamer actually played it. We only got to play it like twice, and then it just kind of slipped under the rug. If I hit, what is it? This? No, that's not the right button. Is it this button?
What are you looking for? Wait.
I was trying to. Oh, it's called Gunheart.
Gunheart. Okay. I think I've never heard of Gunheart, to be honest with you. Might have been right on the radar or so. But
I was gonna say I knew it had to been. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You're fine. No, go ahead. No, sorry. I had an idea that popped in my head, but go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just opening up to see. I knew it had to have been recent because it was one of the last things I did in VR. So I figured it would be somewhere there on the list.
I got you. I will say, now this is a game I've heard of that you can easily play, but you have to have enough play space mover for it. You ever heard of Blast On?
Doesn't ring a bell at the moment.
Basically, Blast On, and I play this with a good friend of mine, being chaotic, but basically, Blast On is a game where it's kind of like, it's you and another opponent, and basically, if you have enough room on hand, it's kind of like, they'll shoot bullets and everything, but basically, it's kind of like bullet timer, so you gotta kind of like dodge a little bit of this here and there while trying to shoot at them, and then basically, it's like got like some tricks to it for the most part, but if you have enough play space on hand, you can actually cheese it a little bit, just to be able to dodge here and there, or just be able to work with it. I will say, Cyan Brightstorm asks about, basically asks on hand about Sands. What's been asking you about Sands? And they say, yeah, explain to me on hand. FYI, Sands is kind of a meme in their stream, so.
Well, Sands came up because of a clip I watched on YouTube, actually, by the name of, was it Senpai? It was something close to that, and basically it was a clip of their stream, and they had a Minecraft world, and it was a skeleton, and every time the skeleton would step on a platform, it would set off Sains' musical tone.
No.
What was that called?
Just Undertales? Megalovania?
Megalovania?
Yeah, Megalovania.
And so it turned into a joke that Cyan would he could imitate the noise perfectly. So he would do it at random, and I would just go, "Thanks, Sans."
Oh, there you go. There you go on hand. I was gonna say, that's the thing too, which I will emphasize, is that everybody, no matter what group of friends you have or so, has got like certain stuff on hand that you and your friends will always laugh at. Like inside jokes that you guys can laugh at, yet nobody else can understand for the most part on hand. And that's what
turns into one of those jokes. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Sorry. No, sorry. No, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I didn't mean to do that constantly on hand, but yeah, go ahead, dude. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, bud. It just turns into one of those you had to be there moments for the joke.
Yeah. You gotta be there for the joke, but I also understand the context of it. Not only that, or so, it's like, there could be something that's really funny on hand that basically only you and your friends will ever get. Like, it's funny to you guys, but everybody else outside is gonna be like, what the hell are they laughing about? So, but yeah, like I said, but small thing on here, a good group of friends is those who can laugh at jokes with you, be it whatever it is, be it dick jokes or puns, but as long as you guys can have a good time for it, that's all that matters. So that's all that matters for the most part. So, but I don't think I see any other questions as of right now. I think I might have, well, off the top of my head, I have one more question I could probably ask you on hand, and then we might call it for the interview, but we'll see here. But I will say, question I have on hand is that, depending on, well, actually, I'll ask you this: is there any games you're looking forward towards that are coming up right now?
I actually don't know of any at the moment, to be honest. I actually kind of lost track of everything that was going on in like the last 6 months in the gaming world. So I don't even know what's set to come out this year or anything. Mostly I just end up following friends that all of a sudden be like, "Oh my god, this game's coming out," and I'll be like, "What's that?"
No, I got you. And plus, you gotta have like a list of it just to be able to keep an eye on what exactly you gotta keep an eye what's coming out for the most part. Like I've seen some interesting stuff coming out for the most part here and there. The only thing that's ever caught my eye is basically like the whole Mass Effect Remaster Edition. That's the only thing that caught my eye since I played all 3 of them. So it would be nice to kind of like go down memory lane to do it again, be it stream-wise and all. So, but
I've actually never played any of them. And I had 2 friends that are like, "All right, when it comes out, you have to stream it. Have to, all of them."
all I can tell you is if you like story in-depth or basically character molding into what you want to be or so, it's a good game for that. Just to be able to take in the story, kind of like character lore, play some different stuff here and there, as well as just like it's a good shooting. It's a fun shooting game, depending on if you enjoy shooting games in general. But it's like there's a game that I used to play once upon a time, long ago. I never finished it. It was called Alpha Protocol. It's kind of like it's kind of like a minor version of it, because whatever choices you make will affect the outcome of the game. Except it's not like very like in depth, where basically you got like multiple choices on hand. You got to figure out what you got to choose, like based on what you got, or so. Kind of like Dragon Age or so, where basically multiple choices that could lead to anything. But it's a good game. It's a good game for the most part. Made by the exact same company that made Dragon Age, being BioWare. But yeah, I don't see any other questions on hand to be able to answer you, be able to ask you for the most part that I could find. So I will say this: that will be episode 44 of Shoot the Breeze.